shut up, don't be racist, don't be a bigot or whatever. That was it. Shut up and be a decent human being. Alright class, settle down and let me tell you a story. A lot of issues are coming out from the election results, both verified and unverified ones. And for this week, we're still trying to figure out of how exactly we got here, at least on the side of the men. Some of you pointed out that the male loneliness epidemic may be one of the biggest contributing factors that led us to the present situation. So, let's see what we can learn from this one with Shoe0nHead. For this week, we're trying to basically finish off as to what exactly or how exactly did we get here in terms of the election results. Apparently, some of you guys have pointed out that there has been a male loneliness epidemic or that men are being relegated to the sidelines for the past few years. And apparently, Shoe0nHead has got a thing about it with regards to this particular video. I mean, for some people, this is where it all began. This is basically one of the biggest factors that determined the last or the recent elections. Alright, why don't we check it out? Like I said, you guys, we're not here to determine if what she's saying or what anyone's saying is right or wrong. We're just here to check what we can learn from this one. Okay. We'll screen it up.
Inform you, the men are not okay. That's right, folks.
We're not?
The men are not okay. The men have no friends, no girlfriend, no college education, no money, are breaking their legs and inserting metal rods into their bones to be a few inches taller, and listening to AI Batman help them overcome their pornography addictions.
I haven't heard about that one. I've heard about pornography addiction, but I've never heard about the getting AI to help with men's pornography addiction. But here's the thing, right? From what I've seen, it's all about the new media. It's all about the internet. Because I remember from the film Blood Diamond, the one with Leo, where he was a diamond mercenary in Africa looking for that pink diamond. That's not a euphemism for the vagina, by the way. He's literally out there fighting and looking for a pink diamond. Anyways, in that movie, there was this scene in the bar. They said, the world's falling apart. And of course, Leo answered, when was the last time the world wasn't falling apart? I feel like these issues have always existed. But it's just that for the first time, we finally have a platform to actually put it in the forefront or to actually talk about it. Because imagine from the Gen Xers, then the Boomers, then the silent generation. There was no platform to do this. They didn't have a platform. It just so happens that the internet is a good platform to actually put this in the forefront. Anyways, why don't we just, keep on moving and hopefully Batman can offer us an insight about porn addiction.
You deserve real love.
Turns out the society that was built by and allegedly for men has indeed let them down. Now you might be thinking, oh look, another boo-hoo poor men video by Shoe0nHead. Yes. And if you have a problem with that, tune into literally anything else. Men are in a crisis, and it seems nobody really cares. And the people who do care just seem like the people who want to sell them shit. Not me.
Why are men and boys struggling? And what should we do about it?
A few new studies have come out that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before. But it's not just men. The women and children, too. It's predicted 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. But according to the media, this is a good...
We've already discussed this one before. That, Mao Zedong, women hold half the sky. Because the other men hold the other half. But again, built what she said a few seconds ago, that it was built by men for men. I sort of disagree with the entire thing, because here's the thing. It was definitely built by men, but I don't wholeheartedly agree that it was built for men. Because if you take a look around you, right now, wherever you go, look at the colors of the wall, look at the design of the window. Do you really think that men actually care if colors of the wall or the cabinets or the furnitures match? No. The world would be built or encased in concrete if men were left to decide about what they want. There are like a ton of memes showing how single men live. Because guess what? That's all men. Everything you see that's not necessary for living was designed for women. Look at the furniture. Because for every man, that's basically just a chair. Or we don't even need chairs. We basically sit on the floor. I personally spent some years with a mattress on the floor. It wasn't until I started dating during that particular time that I was forced to actually get a bed, get a bedside table because I couldn't care less. All I needed was my PC or my laptop and the bed. That was it. A mattress and a bed. So I don't wholeheartedly agree that it was built by men for men. I believe it was built by men for women and children. That's basically how civilization began. And guess what? I mean, civilization definitely would not have continued if it wasn't for women and children. Because there'd honestly be no reason to continue civilization. Like that song, James Brown. This is a man's world, but it would mean nothing. It would mean nothing if it weren't for the woman or a girl. Honestly. So yeah, I believe it was built by men, but no, not for men. It would be nothing.
Good thing. The she-economy is booming, as they say. And meanwhile, men being single is treated like this.
New study explains why some single men are having a hard time finding a new partner.
Some of the music that they listen to speaks very derogatory.
Right.
Yeah, man, stop listening to that derogatory music. Then
Wait,
maybe
what
you won't be
music?
single. I don't know, I think men and women being single and lonely kind of shows there might be something wrong with society. Perhaps we should address this, not just wave it off as empowering or pathetic. According to several different articles, I love how that's my source, I read about it on the internet, research shows that people from individualist countries show a greater sense of loneliness. This is linked to socioeconomic development, increased education, a shift towards white-collar jobs, and urbanization. Japan also has an issue with loneliness. In fact, they have a whole movement of people they call the hikikomori.
Hikikomori.
Did I say that right?
The shut-ins.
Basically postmodern hermits. Mostly young men who completely withdraw from society, secluding themselves in their rooms for months and years at a time. In 2010, there was an estimated 700,000 hikikomori in Japan. And today, it's estimated to be about 1.55 million. And because of things like this, people aren't having babies, so Japan's population has been in a sharp decline since 2011. It's gotten so bad that Japan even produces videos of live-action women staring into the camera to help the hikikomori learn to cope with eye contact and reintegrate them back into society.
If ever I was going to migrate, Japan is definitely on the top of my list. But there could be a cultural barrier to that of them actually accepting foreigners. Because, of course, all we can see right now from a commercial standpoint is, oh, look, there's a really pretty girl looking for a man out there. But guess what? That's not how it works, you guys. There's the cheating culture, there's the xenophobia. But anyways, we have to actually look at this from a deeper perspective. We can't just look at it at the surface. Because we're like, right now, we're looking at the surface level. Right? There's a girl out there looking for a man right now and waiting for us to come out.
So basically, if you want to know America's future, look no further than Japan. A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially on the rise of social media and technology. RIP to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall?
That trend has been around for quite some time. There was this actual study with regards to prostitution that one of the most popular categories in renting out escorts and prostitutes is the girlfriend experience. Meaning you just, don't get a room and do the deed. The study was that most men prefer the girlfriend experience where they can actually kiss each other in the mouth. The conclusion of that particular study is that men are looking for intimacy, not necessarily sex. Because of that kiss or because of that girlfriend experience, where the distinction between regular prostitution and one that comes with a girlfriend experience is that the client can actually kiss the escort in the mouth or on the lips.
when I can just tap, 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 buy a new microphone, and have it shipped to me in a day? Why hang out with friends when I can get all my social interaction I need from Twitter and streamers? Why go on dates and bother meeting women when I can just tap, 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 Google big boob and get 2 million results? Or see my high school crush's holes on OnlyFans for only $5? Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction, and hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend? We're f***ed. We're so f***ed. Dating apps really are the great Satan.
Are we?
I'm convinced they've completely broken men's brains. Women on dating apps are picky. Women in general are picky, and I mean, naturally we are pickier. You know, we're the ones who carry the babies, at least for now. But on dating apps, you have to
See, half the sky, right? Men and women carry half the sky. So, if men can have access to all of those things, everyone has access to all of those things. So basically, it would affect women too. Why settle for the guy next door if Prince Charming is on Tinder? Not that, you know, the real Prince Charming would actually be on Tinder. No, real Prince Charming would definitely be hanging out in Milan or Monaco. He will not be hanging out on Tinder, okay?
to admit, it's a little insane. It's safe to say that the commodification of love and the window shopping of dating apps probably has to do a lot with the rise of lonely single men. Men are not just lonely when it comes to dating, they're lonely when it comes to friendship too. According to Vox, Americans are currently in a friendship recession, and men are being hit the hardest. The percentage of men who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half.
This one I could definitely feel. I feel like everyone on my contact list, or the ones that I consider my actual friends, IRL, I actually have to set up an appointment first. Hey, are you available to talk at 6 p.m. tonight? Yeah, I know, right? It feels like all of our friends right now are transactional. Like, you actually have to set up an appointment for a conversation. Oh my god.
Since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friendships. Looking at all these statistics, the explosion of figures like Andrew Tate is not surprising at all.
How do you quantify a close friendship? How do you determine that this person is a close friend? Yeah, I know, right? Almost every conversation needs to be scheduled, which sucks, really sucks.
I believe being a man is a blessing because it starts so difficult. I believe that every man is born without any value at all. I think that the world's never going to think you're important unless you make yourself important.
And recently, a new study came out about how young men are moving towards the right. And every other month, we, the liberal, sockdom, leftist, whatever you want to call the space online, performs the same song and dance. What's wrong with men? Why is this happening? Why don't we have a leftist Andrew Tate? We need to push men to the left. Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and
we're definitely in a downward spiral. But then again, like Leo said in Blood Diamonds, was it Blood Diamond with or without an S? Anyways, when was the last time the world wasn't falling apart? And if the world is falling apart, who would you rather be with? Yeah, I know, right? You know what? That's a good quantity for everyone. Having 2 to 4 close friends, that's good enough. That is good.
Left only talks about men when they talk about Andrew Tate. A few months ago, during one of the monthly song and dances, some progressive people I follow made the mistake of addressing men's issues. And the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at their own spaces for not doing enough to address.
Compassionate for our own sake. This is giving credence to the Fight Club argument, Chuck Palahniuk, that, we're a generation of men raised by women. So at least that's one of their main arguments why there's no point in actually getting married or raising families.
Said men's issues.
Recently, there were some statistics by healthcare company Cigna indicating that men are the loneliest generation. And addressing it doesn't mean that you turn your back on issues pertaining to women.
So
but
I guess some of those people who pointed it out that they're right,
on what it is in society that is leading to this epidemic, what the left can do to offer solutions, and how we can
So going back to our original topic of how exactly did we get here with regards to the presidential elections, it seems that the signs were there that the left is starting to get out of touch with young men. And it seems like we're reaching that conclusion. Their efforts in reaching out to men were a little bit too late, too little and too late in the end.
Basically fight back against the more nefarious figures who have filled the void that men are struggling with, people like Jordan Peterson and what have you. Now, recently, Vosh, who's a popular streamer, had tweeted this thread that I think is really, really important to address. He writes, "I cannot stress enough how important it is to understand that 12-year-old white boys on Twitch are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't."
The responses to these tweets and this content were very...
That was it. That was it. We can formulate the conclusion right here from the first video. Why men are leaning right. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't. They should have reached out to them, but they didn't. Instead, with regards to the election, the same people who made the wrong decisions were still making the wrong decisions until the very end. They should have reached out to they didn't reach out to the right people.
And their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't.
The responses to these tweets and this content were very normal, level-headed, and respectful.
Nope.
Me when I lie. LMAO, cry about it. Boo f***ing who? Oh no, poor widow men having problems. Boo f***ing who? Grow the f*** up then. Have men considered being smarter? I'm enjoying all these sad little moids and their sad little tweets about their sad, pathetic lives. Sounds like a personal problem. Is the lack of compassion for men in the room with us right now? Maybe men are just not good people then. I'm so f***ing tired of people trying to make male loneliness a huge societal problem. Yeah, no, their fifis are not my responsibility, and I shouldn't have to be punished because they can't get their shit together as human beings. Grow the f***.
See, they neglected the problem, and especially the leadership neglected this problem with regards to the male demographic. And, well, here we are now.
Up. Why are we trying to win these entitled little predators over? The left isn't for them. That's why they go right in the first place. We're all lonely and alienated. It's young men going to the alt-right in droves. The problem isn't our messaging, it's them. It's literally not our problem. Men flock to Andrew Tate not because they're lonely, but because they're bigots. Hope this helps.
This one went over the top because, like I said, that first tweet, this one clearly stated the problem. It's not that they're right. It's not that they want to go right. Same with the first one. It's not that they actually like Trump. It's just that this whole condescending thing, this whole Karen thing, this whole hatred thing is literally driving left. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And yeah, it's not that they like the right. It's just that the other side simply doesn't talk to them. This is what they get when they actually try to engage. But no, this was
it's just misogynists being louder than before and not getting laid. LOL. Cry harder, losers. 90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators. We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence.
Wow.
By the way, you know the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist and rapists, male tears, penises are evil, blah 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've just let me cook back then. Listen up, chuckle. I'm white, socially awkward, autistic, in my 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist, because I recognize most of the sort that look like me are the problem. I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping the situation.
Exactly. What was the point of that? What was the point of that? He literally left his, he aired his laundry out, and then, was he expecting, congratulations, you're not a fascist? Is that what he wanted?
The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them.
For our own sake. For our own sake. See, wait.
Really helping the situation. The reason young men...
What they didn't see, there was this argument before during the pandemic. There was this scientist that it's a matter of self-defense, because people were I remember the issue during the one of the biggest issues in the pandemic is that first world countries like the US, Western Europe, and everything should share the vaccines for COVID. And some people didn't want that we should protect ourselves first. We should inoculate our people first. But there was this one scientist who pointed out that no, sharing these vaccines with other countries or with less fortunate countries is a matter of self-defense. Because guess what? No man is an island. There's no such thing as an isolated country. We all need help. We are all interconnected while we live in this world. So sharing our vaccines is not a form of communism or socialism. It is a matter of self-defense. Because guess what? We're not going to be isolated for long. We need to restart the economy. We need to restart commerce. We need to restart trade in order for everyone to survive. We will not be a first world country for long unless and until we can restart the trade. And one of the ways we can restart the trade is by helping out these countries that we trade with. So, and the one way for that is to share the vaccine. See, like this guy said, he's got the right idea. He's got the same logic as that scientist. It is a matter of self-defense.
Men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them, for our own sake. I'm sorry, but how is respect women brain-dead advice? What advice? Don't rape?
I don't even know where to begin because we're going round and round with that situation of, not all men. But guess what? Not all that phrase, not all men. It doesn't work with people that are currently dealing with trauma.
Don't be a rapist is bad advice? Help, I have no friends or community, I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping?
Exactly.
Act like a decent fucking human being, it's not hard, is brain dead advice?
What?
Brain dead advice like, get consent and don't be a Nazi and women are people.
What?
Walking up to men struggling with loneliness and depression like,
Kids, don't be racist.
incredible. Here's my actual advice I would give to my teen boys as a leftist. 1. Always get enthusiastic consent. 2. Save the planet.
What does that
3.
even mean?
Don't say that. It's actually kind of racist. Like, what the f is this? How does this address men and their issues? It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Why does their advice always seem to be, become a liberal?
It doesn't. That's why the right was talking to them and the left simply wasn't. Shut up. Don't be a racist. Don't be a rapist. Don't be a bigot or whatever. That was it. Shut up and be a decent human being. That was their solution. There wasn't even a conversation. That was it. Just shut up and be a better human being. No conversation at all.
Hey men, here's how to fix all your problems. Agree with me politically. Men flock to the MRA movement because they're the largest beneficiaries of MRA shit. Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest beneficiaries of women's rights. Like, no f***ing shit. Let's be honest. Aside from procreation purposes, men have become obsolete. Most women can find other methods of achieving orgasm
True.
without a man there. And speaking as a man, most of us are hard.
Let's be honest. No, I don't believe in this one. We still need men, actually. We need someone to do the heavy lifting, to keep the lights running. To keep the water running and to keep the lights on. I mean, there are female engineers and there are female workers out there, but when was the last time you actually saw a female worker actually went down a sewage pipe to clear out the septic tank or the septic blockage, whatever you may call it? I'm just saying. We need people to do the heavy lifting and to do the dirty work.
To be around, and I don't blame any woman for just saying, no thanks. Oh my god, dude, this is what every Just Pearly Things tweet looks like to me. Just with the genders swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? Jerking off. As a man, I'll say this. Sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll feel better. I promise. Yeah, guys, just beat one out. Just off. Just watch porn. Batman would be very disappointed in all of you. It's so funny how men feel entitled to a girlfriend. No, you sexist freak. When one side is like, wanting a girlfriend is sexist and
I remember an article about that one. Well, that, some men actually feel like they're entitled to a girlfriend. You know what? I'm 18, 21. I should have a girlfriend, a supermodel girlfriend. Or you know what, a 90-pound cat girl, whatever you may call it. There is an expectation that we can say is true. But guess what? Chuck Palahniuk says we're a generation of men raised by women.
entitlement. And the other side is like, here's how to get a girlfriend. I don't know, bro. What happened to males just kicking the bucket? Now they just come on here and try to make their loneliness and misery.
See, this is what I was saying. This is like for the first time in our history, or at least recent history, that we actually have a platform to talk about issues. Because guess what? The silent generation, the boomers, the Gen X, we all have our issues. From the millennials, actually. It was the millennials. We were the loudest about the whole thing. But the Gen Xers, the Gen Xers, the boomers, the silent generation, they all had issues to deal with. The Gen Xers, guess what, right? Their parents, the boomers, actually needed the commercial to tell them that, do you know where your kids are right now? To remind them that they still had kids. That was it. This is like the first time that these issues are coming out, that these issues finally have a platform. And I promise you, the stories, as you move down the generations, the stories and the issues are going to get worse. You have the Gen Xers, the boomers, and then the silent generation. The stories are going to get worse. That I can promise you.
Into some social justice issue. Oh, trust me. Men are still kicking the bucket. And when they're not giving mind-blowing advice like just to be a liberal, they're outright dismissing men's issues completely.
That's what they did.
It's not our
They
job
dismissed
to
it.
educate them. Since men created the problem, they need to take steps to fix it. We have other things to care about. Men can figure out their own problems that they created. Again, it's not women's jobs to change how men are socialized. It's a man issue and y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created their own problems. Men can solve their own problems. The left is busy. Why does the well-being of other people concern me? Leftists, by the way. It's all systemic issues and societal factors.
They ignored
and blah,
the problem.
Blah,
They
until
didn't-
it's a man, and then suddenly it's
They
pull yourselves
dismissed
up
it.
by your
And
bootstraps.
now we're here.
This problem is just a consequence of the patriarchy. Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy. Solve your own problems and leave women alone. These people rightly mock the bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man, and then it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild. And it's kind of like both sides are telling men to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but one is like, I'll show you how, and the other is like, fuck off.
Fuck off.
And when they're not
There
telling
we
men
go.
to straight up fuck off, they're giving the 200 IQ answer that
So that particular demographic, the male demographic, was simply asking for help. Please help. So guys like Andrew Tate stepped up. Here's how. Whereas the left, the liberal left, simply told them to fuck off. Deal with it. You created this problem. What? So yeah, they were completely dismissed and ignored. And the right was the only one that actually offered anything, or at the very least offered a conversation.
nobody has ever heard before. Just show your emotions, bro. And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this. Oh, you're crying at your grandfather's funeral? Okay, faggot. And studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the homies. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history? Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men.
Right.
Now, while a lot
There
of
we
this
go.
may be true, men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomena. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of, like, gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s, but social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of
Yeah,
dating
see, like I said, these issues have always existed, but for the first time, we have a platform to actually show it, or at least uncover it.
apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely, i.e. so insufferable that nobody wants to sleep with them. So much more pressing than the poor distribution of wealth causing people to suffer food and housing insecurity. Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and are suicidal? Wah. Because feeling alienated under capitalism capitalism apparently isn't a thing. People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant. Men have been dropping out of college like flies. And what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate. In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing, but then absolutely drops the ball when it comes to everything and anything related to men's cultural issues. Many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
The question of whether or not
Now that's something. She's actually pointing out that they're not just shunning or they're not just ignoring the issue, but they're actively hostile against men. So yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's not that I like Trump, but I hate you more. That's basically the conclusion of how everything ended up this way with regards to this particular election. That guy, wait, what's his name again? Wait, Ben? Was it Ben? He had a solution. Acknowledging the problem is a matter of self-defense. They didn't acknowledge the problem. They simply ignored it. They simply told it to F off. But Sid here had a solution. It was we should have acknowledged this problem as a matter of self-defense, as a matter of self-preservation. And now we're facing this situation.
hashtag online left as enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting.
The average young man in America isn't Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people that.
So, again, Chuck Palahniuk, generation of men raised by women.
They're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have. That's going to be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than like saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is. Are you a CIA agent? The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But don't get me wrong, Republicans will not do shit. The Republican Party will not do shit. The establishment in general will not do shit to help any...
They didn't do shit except have that conversation. Or acknowledge the problem at the very least.
This. But the right is, at least rhetorically, offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this Discord comes up, there's people like, we need a leftist Andrew Tate. We need masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard.
You hated it. Huh. That's a catch-22.
Hard for progressives to organically appeal to men, because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny to laugh at insane people on Twitter, as always, there have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues. If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you, because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA or a pick-me. But lately I have seen a lot of good pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content, it's always framed around how do we get them? As if men are just pawns and tools for your personal politics. How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder. Disposable soldiers in the culture war and real war. Anyway, misandry is real. Oh good, finally! And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh. Y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way. I see, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop! It's affecting a group I care about now. I love how the rhetoric just like evolved overnight from male tears to cis male tears. And I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry?
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to like have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow. I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man,
that was
he's
so
like,
sad.
this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on, bro. Men struggling don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy. They don't want to be told it's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem because, first of all, they're not. The average 20-year-old didn't build society. They go to work, come home, off to sissy hypno fetish porn, and go to bed like everyone else.
Exactly. That was it.
About this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. Whether a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and
Guys, I don't have a solution, okay? The best thing that I can do as a professor is simply point things out. I remember going through the history department. The problem with being a historian or studying history is that everything just goes in a circle. History repeats itself, and the problem is no matter how much you try to scream and shout that we've seen this before, we've done this before, it didn't work last time, guess what? It's still going to happen.
Provide for. Men are lacking purpose, and a man will crawl through broken glass for a purpose. But you know who does make them feel like they have a purpose? No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
The absolute audacity
we are here for the grind.
Shocked that Andrew Tate is scooping these guys up after a decade of lol male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems.
No, he's not. He's definitely not.
But he is talking to them. The fact is, you did not care about them for years. And even now, you just want to
And then he shows
them,
up
not
and pretends to care about them.
And that's why you will fail. And hey, maybe I'll be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question. Why do you think male loneliness has been increasing?
Like, more
what
than
are
3
your
times a day.
solutions for this problem? And are you dealing with loneliness?
Nope, we don't have a solution for it.
Next time with a new video.
Bye! Thank you for watching, guys. Now you all know the drill. Please like, share, subscribe, and do the whole notification button thing. It would really help me out with the algo. Now, if you want me to check out other stories, please let me know in the comments. We upload on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we go live on Twitch every Friday and Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. Links of the original videos are down in the description. Please check them out. And class dismissed.